Hey guys, my name is Stefan and I'm a Google Summer of Code student with Pitivi. In this video I'm going to talk about what I've been working on for this summer. For those of you familiar with video editing, you probably know what keyframes are. Basically, keyframes allow us to define transitions or animations if you like, by specifying the values of certain properties at various time points. For example, in Pitivi we have a alpha keyframe curve, which is this one right here, which controls the transparency of a clip. You can see that by dragging this keyframe line, the transparency of a clip changes. A value of 1 means no transparency, while a value of 0 means full transparency. So what we can do is add a new keyframe by clicking on the keyframe curve and set its value to 0. And what's going to happen when I hit the play button is the clip is going to smoothly transition from no transparency to full transparency, and then back again to no transparency. So this is what keyframes allow us to do. Now this was already implemented in Pitivi, and what my project involved was applying the same principle of keyframes for the transformation properties. The transformation properties can be found by clicking on this button, which expands the transformation box, and you can see that the transformation properties of a clip are x, y, width, and height. So they basically control the positioning of a clip as well as its size. What we could do up until now was specify the position and size of a clip by using the spin buttons. So for example, let's say x320, and you can see that the clip has moved a bit to the right. Actually, let me just remove this keyframe so we can see the clip better. Okay, but the thing is that we can't specify the positioning or the size of a clip throughout its play time. So the position and the size remains the same throughout the clip. We can't change it. Good. Now what keyframes allow us to do is smoothly transition between different positions and sizes. So if you've used Pitivi before, you probably noticed that there are some new buttons which have appeared here at the bottom of the transformation box. So let's go through them and see what each of them does. I'm going to start with this button, which activates the keyframes, and you can see that if I push it, a new keyframe is going to appear. So the alpha keyframe curve is going to be replaced by the transformation properties keyframe curve. And now let's add some keyframes. There are multiple methods of adding keyframes. One of them is simply clicking on the keyframe curve. Now, in order to specify the value for this timestamp, for this keyframe, I can use the spin buttons in the transformation box. So for example, I can say here 120, and you can see that the X of the clip changed here. Let's change the width as well. Okay, and the Y maybe. Good. So you can also move the viewer, and you can see that the properties change. So what's going to happen now if I hit the play button is that the clip is going to smoothly transition to the values that I've specified, and you can actually see that by the values in the spin buttons here. Another method of adding keyframes is by simply moving the playhead somewhere where you want to add a new keyframe, and then changing the values of the transformation properties at that point. So if I add here 50, you're going to see that the new keyframe is going to be added at this position. Also, that works with the viewer when changing the position or the size of the clip using the viewer. Great. Now, as with other keyframe curves in Pitivi, you can remove the keyframes by double-clicking on them, and also move them by dragging them. What's different though is that you can't move a keyframe vertically, because that doesn't really make sense here, as each keyframe represents multiple properties, not only one of them, like for other keyframe curves. Also, you can move vertically. You can't move vertically a keyframe line. Now let's look at the other buttons here. So we have two arrows here, which allow us to easily move between keyframes. So one of them, the right arrow is for moving to the next keyframe, and the left arrow for moving to the previous keyframe. They're pretty straightforward. Now, if we want to hide the keyframe curve and show the alpha keyframe curve again, we can use the disactivate keyframes curve button, which is going to hide the keyframe curve, but you can see that the keyframes are still there, so the video behaves exactly the same. So this button basically toggles between the visible and not visible keyframe curve. If you want to completely deactivate the keyframes curve, you can use the reset to default values button, which is going to deactivate the keyframe curve and also change all these properties to their default values. So you can see that now we don't have keyframes anymore. You can see that by this empty rhombus here. Good. So now let's see what we can do with this new feature. I'm going to copy this clip a couple of times to have something to work with. And I'm going to place them one below the other in multiple layers. Okay, so what I want to do now is resize them and position them such that each one of them is going to occupy a quarter of the screen. So let's first resize them. Okay. Now let's reposition them. So I want the first clip to be at the top left corner, the second one at the top right corner, so X is going to be 320. The third one in the bottom left corner, so X is going to be 0, Y 180. And the last one in the bottom right corner, so X is going to be 320 and Y 180. Good. Now what I want to do is basically use the keyframes and try to have each clip come from its corner. So I want the first clip to come from the top left corner and into this position at the end of the clip. So at the start of the clip. So I'm going to activate the keyframes and move to the start of the video and specify here X minus 320 and Y minus 180. So at the start of the clip, at the start of the video, the clip is not going to be visible. It's going to be in the top left corner, and while the clip is playing, it's going to move to the center. Okay, so let's do a similar thing with the other clips. So this one at the beginning is going to be 640 and minus 180. The third one is going to come from the bottom left corner, so we activate the keyframes, and the first one is going to be minus 320 and 360, and the last one is going to be 640 and 360. Okay, so let's see how it works. Okay, so I'm going to hit the play button, and you can see the effect. So what's happening is that all clips are moving from their corners to the center. So this is a simple effect that can be created using this new feature, the keyframes for the transformation properties. There are many other features that there are many other effects that can be implemented using this feature, and I hope you guys like it, and I would like your feedback, and thanks for watching.